everyone. Welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book. If you were looking at me, it must be 7 p.m. Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 out in Hawaii. Hold on a second. 8 p.m. out Eastern, 6 a.m. out in Indonesia tomorrow, and about 9 a.m. out in Australia. Welcome, everybody. My show is Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book, and I am your host, Tom Springer. If this is your first time seeing the show, welcome. If you are a repeat offender, then welcome back. What's up, Stuart? How you doing? So tonight's going to be a little different. I'm going to start off kind of for people who don't know who we are, do a little reintroduction of what the show is and what it's about and stuff like that. And then I'm doing what I call an open mic night. And it's basically me doing this, just talking, taking questions. If people want to talk on the show, they can come on and they can jump on and talk about their experiences, just share whatever they want to type of stuff as far as it's paranormal, cryptid, UFO, multi-dimensional type of relations, whatever else. But basically this show is going to run as long or as short as you all decide you want to talk, or as long as I'm going to talk. So again, welcome to the show. If you're new, welcome. You'll get used to seeing the beard because that's kind of what a lot of people recognize right off the bat. But my name is Tom Springer, and I actually developed the show called Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book simply because I had my own awakening to where I actually found out that I have abilities about 3 years ago. Hi, Sylvie. How are you? And at that point, I really didn't know who to turn to, who to talk to, kind of who to, hi Mary, who to kind of reach out to and ask for help. So I kind of went ahead and decided that I was going to build this show. Hi, Rosie. And I was going to use it as a place where people with like minds, people who may just have their awakenings, people who were still early in the stages, people who had been awake and then opened and then closed down due to whatever family reasons or religions, whatever else, or just afraid of being kind of downcast and looked down upon, or whatever else, or just afraid of it, or people who just kind of decided that maybe they had something but they weren't 100% sure and they just want to come talk it out. So I was in that realm because I really didn't have too many people to talk to at the time. I did have one mentor, and she is fantastic. Her name is Joni White Buffalo. And at the time, she was very helpful to me. She's a Lakota shaman out of Canada. She's actually been on the show before, and I'll probably have her on again because I love her to death. But she did her best to help me with my abilities. But when I developed my abilities, her and another person that I kind of talked to both said the same things. And they were saying that my awakening is kind of unique because I awakened with very high levels of capabilities already and a very high vibration. And they didn't know what to help me with because they said past lives, whatever you want to call it, subconsciously, whatever, I kind of already knew it. So they weren't teaching me anything new, but my concern was, how do I get them moving the right direction? What do I do to get this to start opening up and to start realizing what I'm learning? And am I learning it correctly? Is there a way to learn it correctly? Am I breaking things? Once someone has an awakening in this type, well, just any way at all, I was naive enough to think that that we all had the same abilities. And I was not understanding that we did not. I thought, well, I can do this, so this person, then everyone can do this who has abilities. And I was not under the understanding that we do not all have the same abilities, which was interesting to me. Rosie, yes. I have had weird experiences. And I remember when I was younger, I have things that have happened in my past that I helped identify that maybe I just wasn't fully awakened. I don't know if it just wasn't my time, or maybe it was just, I don't know what it was. But when I was military, as a lot of people know, I was military. Hi, Hi, Sandy. How are you? A lot of people know I was military, and I always had that sense that something was about to happen, um, almost like that innate sixth sense that we were about to be in harm's way. So I always had our folks cover, which is basically for us hide, make yourself invisible, whatever. And it seems like whenever I had that weird feeling, sure enough, like a patrol would walk by or something would happen that would have put us in harm's danger. And initially, when I started doing that, my team was very much like, what do you mean go hide? Why? What's going on?" And they would question it. And after it happened successfully quite a few times, they just stopped asking questions. If I said hide or cover, they covered. They stopped asking questions. So we didn't really know what was going on, but I think that was I don't want to say my first inclination that something was going on, but it was very interesting to know that was when I look back now. I think that was the development of one of my abilities, or the start of some abilities. Right, Rosie, you were right. Rosie posted, "I bet you weren't very fun to play hide and seek." I was not. I was literally that person that can sneak up to you if I was wearing my ghillie suit and grab your ankle before you even knew I was there. I was that type of person. Yeah, the office I work in now hates it because I'm not a small guy, but I am extremely quiet and silent when I walk around, and they normally get scared if they're doing something, and I go to ask them a question. I'm standing right behind them, and they didn't hear me come up. So yeah, but yeah, so I created the site for people. Initially, I created the site for people to come talk to. Who thought they had abilities, might have abilities, were reopening or whatever else, and they just didn't know where to go to. So I was kind of building this community for us all to come to ask questions, because my intent was to have all of us help each other. And then the handful of people I knew, asked them to come on and share their abilities or what they see or how they do things with us, because it may resonate with us, and that may be a good way for us to start developing more. And that's how the show started, and it worked out well, pretty well that way for quite a while. Well, then I started I don't want to say understanding more, but it's almost like I was learning more without studying, if that makes sense to anyone out there. But I seemed to know things that were just going on. And I started to understand things like cryptids and elementals and other things that were going around that I had never studied before, but all of a sudden I had a complete understanding of them and how they worked. So I started expanding the show out from just paranormal to cryptids to UFO alien, to abductions, to people who spoke with them, people who talked about starseeds, which is a big belief that a lot of us are from starseeds, if not everybody is. And so it was kind of it went from just a learning experience, right, Stuart? I know, kind of just gronked it, to where I wanted to share everything with everybody, not just me, but I wanted to have guests come on from all different levels and angles and everything else. But you'll notice that my show is very unscripted. Like, I have no idea what I'm even talking about tonight. This is just the opening I decided to go with like 2 minutes before the show started. But it's very unscripted when the person comes on. And I tell the people that I have coming on my show, I don't do canned questions, because I want to be just as surprised as the audience members are when I ask a question, or when you ask a question. Because it leads me to different questions, or it leads me to different thought processes to roll with the interview. And I open it up to so many other passages because of that same reason. But you'll always notice that the first question I always ask is, introduce yourself. What do you do, and how and when did you develop your abilities? And that is simply because I'm sticking to the script of what I want to keep this to, which is staying with the stuff I never learned from a school book base. So that's why I had them introduce themselves, say when they started, how they started, whatever else, because I want everyone to understand and talk about, I want them to understand and to talk about, it doesn't have to, not everybody develops when you're born. Not everyone develops abilities when you're 3. Some people develop abilities early, completely shut them off, and then come back into them later for one reason or another. So it's pretty. It's a pretty unique situation for each of us, but each one of us has something that the other can learn from. So I think that's why I'm so adamant and so passionate about doing this show, is simply because it's important to me to understand and for others to understand that this is a community that we're all learning from, because no one has all the answers. I always tell people that I'm a practicing intuitive. I will never be an expert at anything as far as it comes to this field. I am just a practicing intuitive. Now, there's my opening spiel. Now let's get to the gist of this. Why we're here tonight. I did something called an open mic night, and that is the brainchild that came into my mind at some point and said, "Hey, let's go ahead." And I had a guest that was planned, and I spoke with this guest probably a month and a half, 2 months ago, and never heard back from him. I reached out to him numerous times trying to get information because, I build a commercial first, or at least an advertisement to get that person introduced and kind of give you a heads up. And that person never responded back. So I decided, instead of not doing a show, let's go ahead and do an open mic night. So this is where it comes into play, that this show will be as long or as short as y'all want it to be, based off of questions you ask me, you ask each other. If you do have something that you want to talk about and you want to come on to the show, I can send you the StreamYard link. All you need is a phone or a laptop or a computer. You don't need a camera. You can do it simply just by talking with audio. If you want to use your phone camera or whatever else, you are more than welcome to. You'll just pop up just like me right next to me, just without the beard. Unless you have a beard, then you'll pop up with a beard. But really, it comes down to, what do you all want to talk about? And I'm going to start off with something that I know Rosie's interested, because I have not done my podcast like I promised, which was elementals. And I'm not going to go all night into elementals, but I will start off with some of the elemental stuff. And when I talk elementals, I'm literally talking earth, wind, fire, water. Earth, Wind, and Fire, great band, but Earth, Wind, Fire, Water. And if you really, depending on what practice of elementals you follow, there's 2. There's one that is simply Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, and there's also one that is Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, and Flora, or plants. So it just depends on which passage you follow. Know that if you're following one has an understanding that elementals are of our Earth. They're really based off of like Native American beliefs and backgrounds. They have always started out as an elemental. They were not human first, and they are here to do a job, whatever that job is. And they do not care about what you think or how you feel. Their job is their job. They do not have feelings like we do. A lot of belief is that those elementals do not have souls. They are soulless creatures who are here simply to do a job, which is to make sure the earth is well taken care of, to make sure our waters are clean, to make sure our air is purified, to make sure that fire wipes out all the negativity of the earth and lets stuff grow back. So a lot of people think that, hi Ingrid, how are you? A lot of people think that fire is a bad one. Guess what? It's not. Fire cleanses. It may seem like it does bad things because people lose homes and everything else and stuff like that. But that takes me back to my comment that elementals don't care. They don't have that feeling in them. They are designed to do a job. Now, if you look at the other side of the elemental belief, where you have the 5, the earth, wind, fire, water, and floral or flora or plant life, people believe that those used to be humans, and now they have turned into elementals, and their soul has processed with them. So they actually have the soul of a human, but they still are designated to work their whatever they're doing. So Rosie's asking, when I talk with them, because I actually do see, hear, and talk to elementals. When you talk with them, do you see them? And if so, what do they look like to me? All right. Elementals do not all look alike. All right. There are actually, let me take earth elementals, for instance, as a good starting point. Now, know that there is an overall, sorry, I got to close my eyes because I have to see this in my head. There's an overarching genus of what they're classified as, which is earth elementals. But within the earth elemental genus, it actually breaks down. So you have earth elementals, but you have like granite elementals, you have forest elementals, you have metal elementals. You have these different elementals that fall underneath just the overall overarching earth elemental. So they don't all look alike. They all look like different ethnicities to me. You have the ones that are out in the open in the larger flat areas, in the mountainous areas and stuff like that, that do not have the trees. And they look like the big lumbering bouldered ones that you would think of that you see. But when you go to other areas that are very heavily forested or stuff like that, you're still going to have those, but you're also going to have the ones that look more to what their environment looks like. So they all have a different look, but they all seem to belong to different genus families or all different ethnic families. So they all have their own look. It's the same thing with water. It's the same thing with fire. It's the same thing with the wind. It really depends on where they're located at. And I know it's hard to say, well, how do you locate wind? All right, so if we're talking wind, are we talking mountainous winds? Are we talking low-level, plains winds? So they all have their own look to them. There's also an understanding that in the 16th century, a gentleman came up with the idea that elementals exist, but they know them as different names. They know them as stuff such as like gnomes. Gnomes are earthbound elementals. Undines, Undines, they are of the water. Sylph, Sylphs, they are your air. And then salamanders, just like you would expect, but salamanders are actually of fire. And those actually fall under elementals. Now that's what they're named as, but their roles are fire, water, earth, air, just like I described. But that is a category that someone had identified them as based off of what there was, or what he named them as. So there's also a big thing. Yes, true. That especially if you're talking sports, Texans and Oklahomans do not get along very well in that category. But when it comes to the elementals side of the house, there's also a belief that they remember when I talked about the fact that we have granite and forest and metal or whatever else type of different elementals, like sand or the earth elementals. They don't play well with each other. They are very segregated in their families. So you won't see like a more of a tree type earth elemental hanging out with the mountainous, boulderous side of the elementals. They just don't. They don't. They believe that they are here to do a job, and sometimes their jobs don't coordinate together. So sometimes there's an argument about who's supposed to be doing what. They don't have the they don't have the subconscious feelings like we do. So when I say they argue, it's not like they're two people that are mad at each other. They just literally think, I'm supposed to do this. You're in my way. I'm going to kill you. There's no feeling behind it. They just know that this is mine. I'm supposed to overtake this. You're in my way, so you have to stop being an elemental. And they just continue on with their work if they ever cross paths with each other. Fire elementals can look different, and you need to understand that not all elementals are the same size either. Not elementals are giants. They weren't 9, 12, 20, 30 feet tall. Elementals can be any size, depending on the area they're working in and what they're being used for. Correct. Tree roots can crack stone. Absolutely. Water can decimate basically anything. Once it finds a crease into it and just runs through it, it will pretty much decimate anything. So it's basically what they're going to be used for. But understand that the elementals, as I see them, present themselves to me in their environment. So to say what they look like, back to Rosie's question, to me they look different. They look like how I associate people. I can recognize you because of the way you look. If I'm friends with Rosie and I see her picture, I know what Rosie's pictures look like. And then I see Ingrid, and I know who Ingrid is because I know what her picture looks like. So I can tell you what a forest elemental looks like compared to an open plains elemental, but simply by how they look. And that's how they present themselves, and that's how they'll talk to me. Good, Rosie? Is that good for now for elementals, or do you want to keep going on more? Well, look, there's Miss Taryn Kerper popping in. People who don't know Taryn Kerper, this is who I really actually just lost my wife to. So, Nikki and her have a thing going on. So I just deal with it best I can. But Taryn Kerper is, if you see this little PB right here with the little ghost on it, that actually stands for Paranormal Brew. And she is the owner of Paranormal Brew, a fantastic website. If none of you, or if not all of you, because I know a lot of you are part of Paranormal Brew, but this right here, Paranormal Brew, is a fantastic website to go to get caught up on everything paranormal. So quick plug, go out to Paranormal Brew, check them out, like, follow, share, all that wonderful stuff, because they're just a wealth of knowledge, fantastic support system out there. Taryn's been with me since I learned I had abilities, and she helped kind of bring me into this side of it that I'm doing now. Not really the ability side, but how to get started with the podcast, where to go to, who to turn to, and everything else. So I'm very happy that Taryn is here. Love her to death. And I actually have something planned with her at a future date that she does not know about yet. This is literally her hearing it right now. But I have something special planned with her and a handful of other people that I'm going to have them come on my show as a forum to talk. I have to talk to her more about that tomorrow, but that's my plan. So now you're kind of in the loop, Taryn. So, hi, Mel. How you doing? What's going on, young lady? Mel is saying good morning or hello to everybody from out in Hawaii. Thank you. I appreciate that. Taryn is saying you do a great job with your podcast. I love it. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So Nikki is also stating that I have water elementals that swim past me and touch me and sometimes try to knock me off my float when we're in the water. That is very true. We will be out in the lake and all of a sudden I'll get touched or I'll get pushed or my floaty will get pushed. And just because they know I'm there and they know I can see, hear, and talk to them. And so they will push me just because I'm there and they have that understanding that I know they're there. It's the same thing with when I golf. A lot of the people I golf with will catch me looking up into the trees or just looking up into the air when I should be paying attention to golf. And it's not because I'm going, ooh, look, butterfly. It's because I'm watching the air elementals piss me off because I'm in the middle of my golf game and they decide to go ahead and blow 20 miles per hour and laugh at me while I'm doing it. So yes, know that Elementals will normally be seen as rude, mischievous, evil, whatever else. That's not the case. They just don't know. That's not what they're there for. But yet, I will. They sometimes they will go ahead and find me in the midst of everything. Yes, Rosie, that was another squirrel moment. Go figure. I will. I plan on having tons of those. Um, but yes, so I think I covered a pretty good amount of elementals for Miss Rosie. If she wants to know more, I'm sure she'll want to either ask another question or contact me outside of that. But for my audience, I would like to know where what, Stuart? What do you mean? Oh, you're looking for the squirrel. Um, for my audience, if you want to talk about other things or you want to come on, let me know, and I will try to answer them the best I can. Um, you're welcome, Rosie. She said, yes, I did. Yes, you did. I thank you. I appreciate that. And that was mostly because I kept telling her I was going to do a podcast. And I have not got to my podcast for quite some time, just simply because I'm lazy. Self-proclaimed lazy. I'm lazy. I didn't get back to it. So I figured I'd go ahead and take care of it on the open mic night. Now, quick side note, because some people, a lot of people have seen it, some have not. But I have also opened up down there. There's that little thing with the hand that says Sixth Sense Investigation. I just started posting to and opened up our investigation page, our paranormal investigation page. There's only a couple things on it right now. You'll notice if you actually go out, there's a lot of paranormal stuff, or paranormal brew stuff, because I actually have them tagged as people I'm following, so a lot of their stuff pops up. Yes, Rosie, I will get back and I will do more. I will continue on with the Angels and Dragons one as well, because it turns out people want to hear more about the Angels and Dragons information I have as well and how they tie together. But the Sixth Sense investigation down there is now up and running. Thank you for everybody who has decided to follow and like and all that wonderful stuff. There are a couple of videos out there. Well, there's a video and an audio that are out there. And the video was sent to me, it was actually given to me from a friend of mine who I golf with. And it's at his aunt's house, and she would like me to come investigate her house, and she's local. So this is fantastic. I'm going to get over there and go figure out what that shadow thing was that walked across the hallway. And then for people who are interested in the recording that was on there, the audio recording, that was actually Nikki. And we're actually sitting at Malvern Manor, and we're in a little girl's name. Her name is Inez. And we're in that room, and Nikki was asking those questions. And she's, are you tired? There's been a lot of people investigating. And on the audio, you can hear a little girl go, yeah, I'm really tired. But we couldn't hear it with our ears, but we were able to catch it on the phone that she recorded it on. So that was really cool to get and listen to it afterwards. We have some other stuff that I just haven't gone through yet from when we went out and investigated out in Iowa. I have a couple recordings I still have to listen to there. And if I find anything, I'll be sure to post them on there. So you guys will be able to see that stuff too. Hi, Chelsea. So she's asking, what should you do to protect your house regularly? Most people will sage on the regular, once a month, once every 3 months, whatever you feel needs to kind of clear out the negativity of it. And you do that simply by opening up everything, opening up a window, make sure you open up all the cabinets, all the cupboards. I mean, everything that can be opened, you open it up. And you start with the lowest part of your house. You start with the farthest corner, and you start just basically saging your house in a clockwise manner, going around. And you can say whatever you want, nothing but light and love, or whatever else you want to help start clearing the house out. And then you rotate to upstairs, and you go through each room that way. Furthest corner all the way around to when you leave. And start from the back and work your way forward, because that's pushing everything to out the door or out the front window or whatever you have open. You can also set up, like we have large obsidian spheres set in our doorway. Those are protection spheres. So black tourmaline, obsidian, jet, anything of those types of protection crystals. Some people put them up in the corners of their windows, and we actually have just the large spheres by our doorways. We have kind of stuff scattered throughout the house, as a matter of fact. But don't invite stuff in. Like, don't have a welcome mat facing into your front door. You can have a mat, but just don't have it say like welcome or come in or whatever else. That's an invitation. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. That includes your back door. That includes your garage. If you go in through your garage door, make sure stuff like that is taken care of, because that's literally an invitation for anything to come into your home. So as far as protecting it regularly, you can do that. I have a friend of mine who is very, very, very religious, and he does just a house blessing with holy water and a spray bottle, and he walks around and just sprays throughout the house and does a house blessing. So Chelsea, it really just depends on what your need is. If you are in a home that you just want to keep protected, you just want to keep clean, you want to keep clear, saging is good, and a couple of crystals here and there is fine. If you are in a predicament to where stuff is already going on, then that's a conversation that needs to be had separately. I can help you with that, but I also have a team that I work with called the Paranormal Existence Research Society. That actually team right there that also does house clearings and helps to alleviate those issues as well. So that's kind of what would do it. So Chelsea, I'm glad. Sounds like some sage should do the trick. Absolutely. A lot of people, you also got to remember another big part of keeping your house protected regularly, clean up. Anything that is just overly saturated or just filthy or whatever else attracts negativity. Just so you know that. So at least try to clean up a little bit, clean up what you can. I had a person on the other day. Her name is V. She's actually a feng shui specialist. I will never get to the level of my house that she had hers at. Absolutely not, in no way, shape, or form. But just know that we're also working a case now, and there's a lot of negative energy in the home simply because the home is, well, just devastated. So yeah. Yes, exactly. So I agree with that, Chelsea. Oh my God, I'm trying there, but it's a daunting task. So much kid stuff. As long as it's a controlled chaos, you should be fine. I understand with the kid stuff and everything else. As long as it's just not, as long as you're not, as long as it's picked up and it's manageable, you're good. It's not going to cause anything that's going to bring in anything that's going to not protect your home. As long as you know that it's a controlled, you're good. But yes, the sage should work perfectly fine with you. All right. Sorry, Rosie, I'm going back up. Most haunted place I have ever visited. So this is interesting because I think one of the most haunted places I ever visited was before I knew I had an awakening, or before I had my awakening. Hi, Kim. How are you? Of all things, I believe that the most haunted place, well, there's been a couple of them. Yeah, and Rosie gives another example. She puts kosher salt at her front door. So there you go. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. A lot of people in here, I'm sure, have different practices. But if you're just looking to like clear it and just kind of keep it enlightened, is a good word. I think the saging would do. Sorry, sidetrack, squirrel. You got to remember, I'm a one-man band here, so I'm reading the messages as well as trying to talk to you guys at the same time. So, one of the places that I've been to that I think has been the most haunted for me, I think there's a couple of them. Hi, Helen. Is maybe three of them. So, one was down in a location in South America, and it's actually when I did bad things to bad people. And there's a lot of lore down in especially the smaller villages that you stay away from cemeteries at night because the spirits come alive, and if you are in that area, they will bring you back with them to the cemetery and take your life. Well, my team, knowing this, decided the best place to sleep was in a cemetery because we knew that people in the local villages would leave us alone. So that may not have been the brightest idea, but this is before I know what I know now. And we slept in cemeteries. A lot of places we went. That's what we did. Another one was I actually was a witness to what was believed to be a possession. I was not there for the entire thing. In fact, I was not supposed to be there at all. It just kind of happened. So I was not there for the whole thing, and I just kind of got out of there when I realized what was going on because they were not speaking English at all, and that's what took me a second to figure it out. And the third one is I was actually invited to this one, and I thought it was fantastic, but you can definitely tell. I don't know if you want to say it was the most haunted place I've ever been to, but it definitely had a very, very spiritual effect into it. I don't want to say it was negative in any way, but I believe it was focused on negativity. And I don't want this to sound stereotypical because it wasn't, but just the way they were doing it to me seemed like it was pointed at something negative. And I attended a voodoo ceremony. I was invited to a voodoo ceremony, and I watched one of those. And it was not one that was done in the States. It was one that was done in a location that, yes, knew what they were doing. It involved a chicken, a pig, and a goat, all of them being slaughtered, and lots of people dancing around in the blood and all that other stuff. Bones thrown, everything else. So it was a full-on voodoo ritual. So that's probably one of those. One of those three would probably be the most haunted places I've ever been to. As far as since I've had my awakening, Nikki and I went to an undisclosed location, and we were with our first team we were a member of, part of, and one of our members got jumped by something, by a spirit. We think it could have been a dark witch, and eyes went black, everything else, it all went sideways. Had to pull her out of that. I actually had to capture that being into me and go get rid of it outside. And that was very traumatic for some people. I don't know why or what possessed me to say, yep, I can do this, and just took it on. And luckily I was strong enough to do it, and was able to get rid of it. But that was probably the most close up as far as the most haunted that I've been to. So, Rosie states, I remember when I was younger walking to school and home, and a house down the street had rocks in the windowsill and never understood why. And now I am that person when I charge my crystals, right? I know I am that person too. If people were able to see up onto my windowsill in my bedroom, because we have a nice little ledge right there, all my stuff is laid out during the day to get charged. And I'm sure they'd look at me and go, what? I mean, it's bad enough at work. I still work for the government, and I wear my bracelets and I wear my necklaces and everything else and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if they think that I'm spiritual or I'm just an old time hippie with this beard or whatever else. So whatever it is, they seem to question it, but they leave me alone. So, all right, what else y'all got? Bring it on. Come on, let's talk. I know that there's a couple of events coming up. If you decide to go out to my site, Stuff I Never Learned, or the Sixth Sense investigation that people are posting that are, if you're in the Midwest area, they are doing investigations. They're group investigations like at Broadhead Manor and some of these other locations. So if you're interested in those, one I know specifically is a group called RIP. They're doing the Broadhead Manor one. I know that there's Taryn, if you're still on here, you're about to get something huge that you guys are doing out in your neck of the woods. And I don't remember which one it is. Is it the it's one of your bashes that you guys have out there that we can never get to because, we're out here in the Midwest. So if you're still on here, post it for me because I know you post it on your site as well. That's where I keep sharing it from. The one, there's a couple of them, but and if you're interested, so I'm also doing this just for advertisement, I guess. I didn't know that, but I'm going to do this for advertisement as well. If you also want to, even if she's not on here, I'm still going to plug her. Taryn also has a group called the Paranormal Peaches. They're a all-female, well, I guess they have a honorary Paranormal Peach. He's a guy, but otherwise the whole team is a bunch of females that go out and investigate. And they're hilarious when you go out there and watch their videos and watch what they're doing and everything else. They're very respectful when they do it, but their off time, their downtime is very lighthearted, very funny to watch. And it's just a lot of fun to watch the Paranormal Peaches when they investigate. Kim is asking, have I ever been to Ball Cemetery in Springfield? I've ran into a couple of spirits there, helped a spirit pass that was stuck there too. Kim, I have not, we haven't gone to too many places recently simply because Nikki's going through her chemo or going through the end of her cancer. So we are keeping her safe and away from everything right now. But that is a place that I have listed that we need to go to. There's a handful of places. So Kim Irwin, who's I'm talking about her post right now. She and I are in the local area together. We're here basically in the Omaha, Nebraska area. And we run into each other whenever we have one of our Mystic Fests or Holistic Fests, whatever fest we want to come up with. We seem to team up and run into each other and catch up. So I'm really happy that she's on here. She's also one. Kim, I don't know if you have a page up and running for people to go out and find you for readings or anything else. If you do, feel free to post it. But Kim's another one of those that when she goes to those, she's giving readings and stuff like that. So I would advise you all to get the chance to go out and maybe look at what Kim offers. If she is doing stuff online, I know I'm probably putting you on the spot, Kim. If you don't do it online, that's fine. Just tell me shut up talking. But if you do, maybe let people know where you're at so they can come out and find you online. Maybe get a reading or two. Nope, see, there it was. I do not. So now it looks like I have something to work with Kim on to get her online so she actually does readings online. Now I have her project. So, what else you guys want? You want? I talked about the angels and dragons before on another episode. For those who don't know, I can talk about that. If you want me to bring that up again, I can. Do you want me to talk about Nephilim and how Nephilim came about? That's basically the one belief under Enoch that fallen angels came down and actually mated with human females and had children known as Nephilim, which is what the cause of basically of the great flood that Noah, the ark, and everything else was to wipe out the Nephilim that were hybrid children that should not have ever existed in the first place, and they were seen as evil because the fallen angels came down. So, yes, correct, Nephilims. So, is that what you want me to talk about, Rosie? Because I'm kind of talking about them. Oh, yeah. And Kim says she reads at the next millennium once a month, Intuitive Rock Tarot. So if you're in the local area or you come this direction, then you can always go see Kim at the next millennium, and she will be there doing readings. So, hi, Margaret. How are you? Margaret's stopping in to say hi. If you did not remember Margaret or you missed her show, she was on my show not too long ago, and she does toe readings and feet readings and ankle readings and all that wonderful stuff. And it was very interesting to hear her talk about that because it's the first time I've ever heard about it, but yet there she was telling me that she's taken a class about it, which I've never heard of. That was really mind-boggling to me. And if you want, Margaret is actually one of those that can do your readings online. She can do it from pictures. Just make sure you take the pictures correctly, unlike I did. So that was that's hi, Margaret. That was another really interesting one they have, and you can go back and watch hers because just so you know, all my shows are recorded, so you can go back and watch them at any time on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Why am I waiting? Normally I wait for the end of this, but I can always do this, and I can just scroll so that way you can just find me here. That way new people can just go, oh yeah, that. So Rosie, I'm talking about Nephilims. Is that what you want me to talk about? Okay, so a couple of beliefs about Nephilims. There's two different stories behind it, or there's actually three different beliefs behind it, but two of the main ones are the fact that Nephilims are believed to be from, like I said, fallen angels who had mated or had sex, in another term, with human females, and their offspring was born, and they were seen to be of an evil presence, because God did not want that to happen. He said, this is not what I allow you to do. You are doing it without my permissions. So therefore, in order for me to take care of this, I will wipe them all out at once with a great flood. There is also the belief that the Nephilims are not part of any supernatural or other being. It is simply the fact that they are the bloodlines between Seth and Cain. And that was after Cain killed Abel, Seth was born to Adam and Eve. And that they are the offspring, either seen as God's children or as the law of man. And they did not want that bloodline between those two to mix, because Seth's bloodline ran one direction, which was basically the good of man, or the good of God, whereas Cain's ran as the law of man, which was known to be evil because it does not follow God's word. So before they intermingled, they were humans, but God decided to take them out all as one flood. Because Noah was chosen because he was of a pure blood from the line of God, or from Jesus. And so he was going to keep his family alive, but wipe out everyone else on earth. So that way it was a clean start. The Canaanites and the Anakites, whew, man, you guys are making me think on this one. The Canaanites and the Anakites were believed at one point to be giants, anywhere from 9 to 18 stones. So that's anywhere between 9 and 12 feet tall. Holy cow, you guys are making me think on this one. And they believed that they survived even after the flood because they were giants. That's one belief. There's also the other belief that the Canaanites and the Anakites were simply a superior warrior race that found a way to escape the flood and continue on after the flood happened. So that bloodline of giants continued on, or that bloodline of warrior continued on, depending on which way you go, on which story. And so the Nephilim story is always pulled one way or the other. The one identifying them as not being giants or not being of descended angels comes from Jewish Hebrew belief, whereas the ones that they are giants or they are from descended angels actually come from Christian belief. So there's your little background on Nephilims. That is such a crash course on Nephilims. That's like your Cliff Book notes on Nephilims right there. So there you go, Rosie. That was kind of a rush for everybody in 10 minutes of what Nephilim is. And I know there's probably some people that go, and I never even heard of Nephilims before you opened your mouth. But that's how it runs. Melody Chang is from Hawaii. And I bring her up not only because she says cool, but because I got to go visit her. It was there that I fully saw the entire length of a sleeping earth elemental or a sleeping giant, because the mountaintop that we overlooked. Melody, you can remind me where it is, because I know I'm not going to remember the name of it. When we walked out in the night and we overlooked that whole mountainside. That was a sleeping earth elemental. It was huge. Lori, yes, that is a belief. That's what I was talking about earlier. It is one of the three beliefs I discussed about how those came about. No, Rosie, this was not the mountain that looked like a sleeping lady. It looked like literally a sleeping giant. It looked like a male figure. It was huge. It was much easier to make out at night where we were at because you could really see the inlays of the shadows much better in the dark crevices. So it looked like a large man sleeping. It was really cool. Yeah, I'm not pronouncing that. Ko'olaus. I'm going to assume that's what it sounds like. Ko'olaus. If I'm right, cool. If not, I butchered it. Go figure. Yes, we were near Judd. Correct. Hold on, I'm going back up. Rosie, do you think Jesus was never crucified, but it was his brother? I fully believe it was Jesus that was crucified. I understand the belief of his brother, but that story came in so late. I think if Snopes was around when that came up, Snopes would have debunked it by now. But so I do believe it was Jesus, just based off of not only just the writings we all know of, but some of the older writings that have not thoroughly been looked into because religions do not want us to know that much about that part of it. It's kind of like, kind of how like the book of Enoch is separate from the rest of the Bible because they just didn't want to include it because there was too much in it that they found far-fetched. So there's other writings that are out there that I think are better to confirm that it was Jesus, not his brother. Hi, Suzanne. How are you? So good to see you. Thank you. Hi, Wendy. What can you tell me about gnomes? I'm working on connecting to water elementals, and gnomes are what are on the trees and creeks here in Arizona. Absolutely. Gnomes are known as the earth elementals. They are the ones. So first off, something to know about. I just want to make sure that we have this correct because you're saying that the connecting water elementals and gnomes that are around the trees and creeks here in Arizona. So an earth elemental can work by a water location. They can work in an air location. But if they ever try to, I'm trying to find the best way to explain this. Fire can destroy an air elemental if an air elemental is completely consumed into a fire area. Earth elementals will drown if they're ever put into a nothing but water area. So know that the gnomes who are working in that area are only working around the creeks, the lakes, the rivers where the water elementals are, whatever water sources you have. They are working around it, and they are simply shoring up the lands and making sure the lands are still secure. So there's not being any extra damage or contaminants or anything else going into your water area that you're discussing about in Arizona. Gnomes were identified back in the 16th century by a gentleman who named them gnomes. And he identified gnomes as being with Earth. He kind of did the whole run. I talked about that earlier. Hopefully you were here for that when I was talking about it. But gnomes were the ones he identified as an Earth elemental. They really didn't use the term elemental back then. They just used what they were called, which were gnomes, sylphs type things, or whatever else. But the gnomes in your area, they're either doing one of two things. Either they are doing what I said, and they're helping shore up before the water, to help the water running, or if they are at war, which can happen, they are trying to decimate the water supply, and they're trying to push everything in to stop the water supply from happening. Um, if and it's not because they have an ego, they don't. It could simply be because if this is what's taking place, it's simply because the earth elemental believes what he is doing is more important than what the water elemental is doing. So he will do what it will do. I see him as he's. I see him as he's and she's, but I just use the general term of he. It will do its best to do what it needs to do to push that water elemental out of the area. If it believes that the water running through it helps keep the earth stable and help keeps growth happening and everything else, then it will work for its own purpose to keep the earth firm and clean around that water supply. So I hope that helps as far as what you're looking for. If you need more on gnomes, I can give you more, but I'm just kind of give you a quick overview of what you're looking at there as far as what you give me on that sentence. Sorry, I'm going down this. Lord, yeah, trolls, rock beings. Trolls can actually be, they're not only rock beings, they can actually be a combination of mud, rock, and like tree, anything that forms together in that way and is seen in that image. Know that trolls and elementals are two totally different things. Trolls are just dicks. They don't have that thought process that I'm doing this only because I need to do this because this is what I'm here on Earth for. Trolls do it because they're chaotic. They want to destroy. So, and that's what they're designed for. It's them. They're selfish. They're who they are, but they're also protecting their area. So if you go into an area and you happen to come upon a troll, it could simply because they're protecting their area. It could be their hunting ground. It can be their living area. It can be whatever that is. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's trying to be its dick self, even though that's what it kind of is all the time. It could just be just protecting its own area. All right. Yes. Rosie says a lot of statues or rock formations look large and human-like. Absolutely. When we were there, when I was there with Melody and with Joe Pinohu, it was very interesting because I was actually able to catch an earth elemental in a picture. And you could see it. I showed them the image that I took because I saw it standing there. I was waiting for Melody and Joe to show up. And I can see it watching me because we were at an entrance that was basically you're not supposed to walk on it at night. And we were about to walk on it at night. So it was watching, trying to figure out what we were doing. Were we there to cause havoc? Were we there to be peaceful? Whatever else. And when it recognized I saw it, I started talking to it, and it talked back. And I was like, okay, we're not here for anything. We're just going to go for a walk. They're going to show me some things. I have never been here before. And I said, but I would really like to see you. I would really like others to see you how I see you. So it let me take a picture of it. I have that picture on my phone. I will post it out on one of my sites. And I even was nice enough to outline it for you, but I'm going to put one not outlined and have you look at it. And then further down, I'll put one that was outlined, but you can tell by the change in color, it looks like there's a warrior standing there. And it was very interesting to see. Let's see. Rosie, my rose bush didn't produce any flowers this year, so I pruned it and asked if it were possible to get some next year. Sounds silly, and I love seeing the flowers, so we will see what next year brings. Absolutely. If you are under the understanding that, and I know you are, that you can talk to plants, you can talk to flowers. They understand. They they do what they do best when they are appreciated, understood, and cared for. So I believe that you will have flowers next year, simply because you're willing it and you're talking to it, and it's what you want, and it is more than willing to oblige, simply because you are treating it as it should be treated. Shy is a wind elemental. Okay. Yeah, that was interesting because when we walked down, we had the wind elementals walk with us overhead. It was a fantastic wind that took us. And it was very cool because once we got down to the river, the stream at the time, the wind stopped. Like, the wind followed us all the way down till we got to the water. And then once we got to the edge of the water, the wind elementals said the water elementals will take you from here, and they went back to doing what they were doing. So they went ahead and protected us from that point. Where I was in Sedona, the trees are breaking and deteriorating because of the humans. It was the Oak Creek water. I'm healing to connect to all elementals, and the gnomes were blocking me. They may have been trolls then. The healing journey I'm on is an adventure. Makes me wonder now. It was definitely an Earth Guardian. Stand by. I'm literally listening for an answer right now. So the gnomes weren't blocking you, but there was something else that needed to take place first before you were allowed to do what you're trying to do. A month? Wendy, give it a month. The gnomes will be done doing what they're supposed to be doing, what they are doing right now, and you will be able to connect with that again. It's not a troll. I'm not even seeing them as gnomes. I'm seeing them as the earth elementals that they are. And yes, by the way, I connect with elementals this way all the time. That's very strange. But I can send them to do remote work for me and stuff like that. If they're in the area, they are more than happy to oblige. But if they're busy and they're doing other things, they will basically, in the best way I can say it, because they have their own mission, they have their own agenda, is go fuck yourself. So it just depends on, and right now your concern of what you're doing is not their concern. So when they're doing what they want to do, then you'll be able to work with that. So elementals, yes, Margaret, elementals are everywhere. Now, the amount of elementals will depend on what is needing to be done at those locations. So if there is a, like, excuse me, if there is a lot of construction work going on, the earth elementals will stand down because they know they can't stop it from happening. Once it's done, excuse me, this is something that happens too. Something's trying to stop me from talking. Once the construction is done, the earth elementals will come in and try to reheal the ground for what it can. This is, I'm telling you folks, elementals can be huge. This is literally why earthquakes happen. This is why large things like this happen. And it's I told you, elementals are not just human size or 9 to 12 feet or anything else. They can be mountainous. Think about when the tectonic plates move. That is literally elementals doing what they want to do to shift, to disrupt us. It's a disruption for us, but not for them. It's something that's necessary for them to do. So depending on what they're working on, what they need to take care of, depends on how many elementals will be in a location. Different elementals will not mix with other. I talked about that earlier. They just won't. But you can have a genus family of air elementals all working together, but you won't have like a mountainous genus family of air elementals work with a plains genus family of air elementals. It just won't work. Um, the way I talk about seeing them is like the Predator showed himself in the movie. It really was. I was able to see him as something, and when I asked him to come up, he did basically like a chameleon. He changed his colors, so you can see the different colors of what he is now compared to what there was when I saw him. So that was very cool that he did that for me. So I just walked right into Margaret's question. How do they show themselves? It just depends. For me, they show themselves just as they look. There's different sizes. There's different shapes. They have different ethnicities based off of where they're at, everything else. To me, they look like they can be another human race, just with earth, wind, fire, water, flora, depending on which way you're going with, is how they show themselves to me. When I show the picture, you will see the one I show. It looks like it's all leaves because it was in a very, we were basically in a jungle setting. So it shows itself as a lot of leaves. So that's kind of how it looked like to me. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Tom. I was broken hearted, can't connect. This makes so much sense. Appreciate you. You're welcome. Absolutely. That's one of the things why I like doing these shows where I just come on and kind of do a free-for-all so people can ask questions and I can try to help out the best I can. Rosie, thank you. I'm happy that this is getting your elemental fill. So I won't have to worry about doing the podcast anymore. Are elementals affected by solar flares? No, they are not. Absolutely not in any way, shape, or form. They are environmental. They will do what they want to do when they want to do it. They don't strengthen. They don't do anything else and stuff like that. Melodies, lava elementals and volcanoes, they're fire elementals, just identified as lava elementals. Again, that's that different genus family. You have a forest fire, so you have fires that will clean areas like that and stuff like that, and you will have a genus family of lava elementals. They look totally different, and they will work in different ways, and they cannot work together. They will literally try to kill each other to overtake which one is trying to do the better job. So that they will not work together, but yes, lava elementals are another form of a fire elemental. Wendy, there was construction around where I was. I felt all their anger about it too. It's by Bell Rock and Sedona. It was strong energy there. Thank you for helping me make sense of this. I was trying to connect to the Fae and thought I was doing something wrong. So I connected to the ants and the critters instead. Yes, be careful with the Faes. The Faes. So here's something with people that build Fae gardens. Please listen closely. I understand that you want the Fae to be around and you want them to, you enjoy them in your gardens and stuff like that. But know that Fae are not always good. In fact, they are not. They are tricksters. If you have a Fae garden and you decorate it with trinkets and you decorate it with lights, you do that wonderful stuff, and then all of a sudden you let that Fae garden start to die and you do not supply them with more trinkets and more gifts and everything else, they will turn on you. It's just the way it is. They are all about themselves. They are very cute, but they are very dangerous. Do not let their size fool you. Not all Fae are this big. Some are larger. But they are very selfish and they are very mischievous. The best way to say that. And so if you do have something in that area that you've already developed for them, keep it up. Otherwise, you're going to start seeing things happening on your property that you would not be able to identify. You're like, why is this happening? Why is stuff dying? Why is this happening? It's because you stopped giving trinkets to the Fae. And they very much appreciate their trinkets. They're like raccoons with shiny objects. They just want to reach in and grab it and hold on to it and do everything else. So, where was I? Oh, Wendy, I was literally down to the road where the earth split from 3D to 5D. Lots of energy there. That's good and bad. I'm hoping to help heal the land. Well, absolutely. If you're doing that, you're doing a fantastic job. The land will heal itself, but any help along the way it can get, and the energy it can help, and everything else, it will always help. If we give positive thoughts to the land, it doesn't have to be a literal healing the land like we're planting stuff and everything else. If we give the land positive thoughts, it will heal itself at a stronger, faster pace. And that's literally my Native American side coming out of me talking. Nikki's asking, yes, but is lava elementals earth or fire? The lava itself is fire. The volcano itself is earth. So know that when the lava comes down, and you can identify this because fire cannot live in water, but earth can. So when the lava runs down and hits the water and solidifies, that is the death of a fire elemental being overtaken by a water elemental. All right? So lava, fire, volcano, earth. So Melanie, you're right. It's both, I think, but it's just depending on if you're looking at the volcano as a whole or just the lava itself. Rosie's asking, are there fae around in the wintertime with the snow? Absolutely. Just because their little garden plants die does not mean they do not want their trinkets. Sometimes you will catch them as glimpses or reflections in the winter. And you may look over and you're like, yep, I saw a glint. I saw whatever. And if you look once and you don't move and you see that glint, you see that glimmer, you see whatever, and then you're like, whoa, what was that? You turn back again and it doesn't do it. That's because that's where it was, if they want to be seen. But yes, they do not have a seasonal preference. If Rosie, you're by us here in Omaha, Nebraska, we have 4 seasons. There are fae that are year-round going to deal with all 4 seasons. Now, there are fae that are in other locations that don't have 4 seasons. They basically just have winter and summer. And if they don't, if it's mostly a tropical climate and they all of a sudden get a cold snap, there may not be fae that show up at that point. They may be like, nope, this isn't the environment I'm used to. This is the environment I'm comfortable with. I'm not showing up. But where we live at, fae are here all year round. I hope that helps explain that. Yes, Rosie says the fae remind me of the brownies from the movie Willow. Yes, really much. Brownies and fae are similar, not related, but you can think of them as the same concept, but they're not related. They're actually 2 totally different things. But they do live in the same nether realm or the same realm, but they don't interact with each other. They're actually not friends of each other, but they act pretty much the same way. It's squirrel moment number 9. It's the same thing when we talk about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, all that wonderful stuff. All of them look alike. They all come from a. This is me speaking. We don't have necessarily. So Bigfoot to me, it does not live on this planet. It does not live in this realm. It travels through portals, and we are just a stopping ground in between of where it's going, which is why we never see bones. We never find their tracks, we find their tracks, but we never find them or anything else because they literally portal jump. But know that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call it, are not the same creature. They are all of the same species, same genus family, but they're all branched off from different. Yetis are dicks. They are just straight up mean. They are evil. All they want to do is just break things. They are a war tribe, species. They fight. That's all they do. They rip things apart. They fight, and that's what they look to do. The Sasquatch, Bigfoot types, it really depends. Bigfoot's more of a peace loving. Sasquatch can kind of go either way depending on what part of Sasquatch, like what part they're from. I believe there's multiple planets out there that have these. And they will. So a lot of people mix them together, but they're not the same thing. They're from the same family, but they're not the same thing. That's kind of how I see the Fae and the brownies. But they're not even from the same family. They just do a lot of have similar attributes. Some tropical Fae are like tropical people. Yes, absolutely. They do not like the cold if they're from tropical areas. They will freeze, and they will just not pop into our region or into our realm. They will stay in theirs where they don't have temperatures, and they will just stay where they're at. Rosie, the color depends on the area they're around. If they're talking about the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, and the Yetis, absolutely. Yetis are seen as white or gray, or a mixture of the browns and grays, or the browns and whites, because they are mostly in the snowy regions. Really strong over in Serbia, Vladivostok, the mountains of China, places of that where there's just snow almost year round in a lot of places. Further north, up in the northern regions of even Canada, where the large tree family lives. Trying to think of what it's called, but they're just all interconnected, and it's a huge branch up there that they just all feed off each other, but it's mostly snow year round. They're up there. They can actually move back and forth, but they're mostly a snowy region. The Bigfoot and Sasquatch are kind of more of the forest, even jungle style areas. Not really the thin wispy trees like they have far up north, but more of the denser coniferous trees we have, like in Northern California, up in Oregon, up in Washington, and places like that. So the Great Wall of China was actually designed to keep rebellious fighting sanctions, such as Genghis Khan and those types of people, out. When China came under rule from 5 different sanctions of China, or 5 factions of China under one great ruler, then the Great Wall was built. And it was built because this one ruler had decided that they were going to protect all of China, which is now owned by him, from invading marauders and stuff like that. So the Great Wall of China was actually meant to protect people from others coming into it to try to take it over. So there's your history lesson for the day too. All right. I have been going for about an hour, 20 minutes. So I am going to call it for the night. That was way more than I was expecting to talk about. So thank you for asking questions and listening to me yammer on about everything. If you have questions about any of this later, you've literally been watching my stuff scroll underneath me the whole time, well, half the time when I actually remember to turn it on. You can go ahead and send stuff to me. Ask me questions, do whatever else. I'm more than happy to try to answer them like I do this. This will not be my only open mic night. This just happened to fall because, like I said, I had a guest decide not to show up. And rather than cancel the night, I was just going to go ahead and do this. If you like doing this type of platform, I will do this about once a quarter. I really haven't done one of these for probably 6-7 months now, but if this is something you enjoy, then let me know, and I will continue to do open mic nights about once every 3 or 4 months, once every quarter, once every 4 months, whatever else. Good night, everybody. I see everyone kind of saying thank you. Good night. Wonderful information. Yep, fantastic. I appreciate you all. But again, if you want, I can do this again, and I can continue to do this. Hold on before you all take off. I don't even know if I have a show next week. This is how far out of it I am. So I'm going in to take a look. What was today? Today's the 12th. Hey, yes. Next Monday, I actually have on, her name is Stephanie, and she's part of my Paranormal Existence Research Society team, and she's going to be on here to talk. And she and I have actually done cases, remote cases together, where we've had to go in and clear lands and everything else for people and stuff like that. And she's just a wealth of knowledge. So she'll be here next Monday. So that means I will be doing a show next Monday. And other than that, please do me a favor. Have a wonderful week. Have a safe week. If you like what we're doing here, I hate asking this because I always feel like I'm trying to sell myself, but this is a community that I'm trying to grow. And so I am trying to, hi Jason, bye Jason. But I am trying to grow the community. And I would love to have more people come on here and be part of the family, which is the audience, which you all know is my family. So if you want to like, follow, share, I appreciate it for everyone who does that. If you're wanting to know more about my Sixth Sense investigation site I just put out there, same thing, like, follow, share. I'm starting to put some stuff out there now. But it's just going to be growing as we start doing more investigations and I start pulling more stuff for where local people start sending stuff to me. I'm going to post it on there so people can see what's going on. But other than that, y'all stay safe. Have a great week. I will see you next Monday.